Hello! The newest film in the Mad Max franchise, Furiosa, premieres soon, and there's no doubt that it'll follow true to Mad Max fashion and will be a world of destruction, delusion, and probably a lot of explosions. It's definitely sparked a lot of conversation, as some reviewers are describing it as one of the best prequels ever created. This is an incredibly strong claim considering Fury Road won 6 Oscars. At this point, it's been about 10 years since the last Mad Max movie, so I know there's probably some questions from where we were to where we are now. The most important thing to know about this movie is that it is a prequel, so you can rest easy if you don't know the intricate details about the world. However, I am going to run through a few good things to know before watching the movie, in case you are sparse on the details or if you haven't seen Fury Road. We'll discuss the story, the practical effects, and the casting, as probably the biggest question is where our original actress Charlize is. We'll get there very soon, but let's first start with discussing the story.
I am awaited in Valhalla!
The film follows the origin story of Furiosa. It begins with young Furiosa snatched from the green place of many mothers and brought into the biker horde led by the warlord Dementis, as they make their way through the wasteland and arrive at a familiar home of Immortan Joe. We see their battle for dominance as we observe Furiosa's own battle to escape and make her way home. The film is cut into 5 different chapters and respectfully allows the audience to sink into the story, as they do not conform to the traditional roles of films or prequels. There are quick cuts between young and present Furiosa without much warning, as the director George Miller trusts the audience to understand the story without consistent exposition, introduction, or explanation. It's definitely different from the traditional story in past Mad Max movies, but it's an interesting and necessary approach to thoughtfully tell the story of Furiosa. We see her complete transformation from child to the leader we see in Fury Road. Her raw past trauma is shown throughout the film, as she only speaks about 30 lines of dialogue and spent months on set in silence. This really ensures the focus is on her facial expressions and her eyes throughout the entire film. Along with that, it solidifies the importance of the visuals we will see throughout the film and allows every written line of dialogue to hold much more weight than the last. Speaking of visuals, Fury Road was renowned for their effects, as 90% of the effects presented were practical. It's no question that Furiosa will follow in the same footsteps, so let's discuss the effects. When the first trailer of Furiosa released, there was some conversation online about seeing a little bit more CGI within the film's trailer. The notion to understand with this is that the technology that has become available in the last 10 years has evolved so much that there needs to be an understanding that some practical effects may be replaced by visual effects. Regardless, that didn't stop the production from creating a 15-minute long action sequence known to the film crew as the Stairway to Nowhere. That 15-minute scene took 78 days to shoot, with roughly 200 people working on it every day. This scene is a turning point for Furiosa in the film and highlights an accumulation of her skills and learns throughout the battle. Anya Taylor-Joy not only praised the safety of the set and her stunt team, but went on to give more detail about the recent surge in recognizing stuntmen in the industry. She said, "Listen, no action movie, specifically Mad Max, exists without an absolutely unbelievable stunt department. We had the incredible Guy Norris, who was a stuntman on the first Mad Max, leading our second unit. When George and I first had a conversation, it was important to him that I was willing to throw myself into it as much as I could. But even if you're throwing yourself into it as much as you possibly can, there's someone who's pre-visualized that, who's tested it, who's taught you how to do it. In my opinion, I feel that the perfect middle ground is a healthy mix between practical and visual effects, as this benefits the production in a million different ways. So in the long run, the movie may have more visual effects, but it does pay off in different ways." Anya went on further to praise her stunt double and the relationship they built with one another, as the environment was incredibly supportive and one where she was being built up by the team rather than being pressured into things. She went on to say that stunt people are always the best people on set. It takes a lot of people to put any film together, but some of the most important decisions come around casting. So let's dive a little bit deeper there. With casting, you're probably wondering where Charlize is. With this being a prequel, George Miller considered de-aging, but ultimately felt that the technology is not at the point where it's a convincing enough effect. As time went on, he felt that recasting the role to Anya was the best course of action. With the film being an origin story spanning over 15 years prior to Fury Road, it's essential that there is an actor who can convincingly sell the age throughout the story. While this may be sad for some, it was a necessary step that was actually praised by Charlize. While she was upset, she understood and gave her blessing to Anya on the role. On the other side of the coin is Chris Hemsworth being cast for the movie's antagonist, Dementis. And in the words of George Miller, it's probably clear that that character is not a sunshine and rainbows kind of guy. Miller was quite happy with both of these choices, as in an interview he was noted saying that he never thought of Chris for the character, but met him in a courtesy meeting and felt that he was someone with a lot more ideas than he originally thought of him having.
Once I met Chris, I was really struck by how acute his observations were.
Who's got the goods, the bollocks, the testes to ride with Dementors?
In the same interview, he felt very strongly about Anya as well, as he first saw her in Last Night in Soho. He felt that there was something about her that was difficult to put into words, with somewhat of a mystical aura. She's very disciplined to the work, very young, and very talented. He also drew parallels to her being a ballet dancer along with Charlize. Miller previously worked on Happy Feet with a lot of dancers and understood the discipline that they needed to have physically and emotionally, so it was a no-brainer for him. Oh, by the way, that's actually totally true. The same man that created the scene that you're watching right now also created a musical about penguins that dance. Yep, I was surprised by that too. Anyways, it's clear that the movie is going to be just as amazing as its predecessor. Regardless of if you have seen Fury Road or not, take a mental note of what we covered and go check this film out. Also, be sure to let me know your thoughts on Fury Road or Furiosa in the comments below. Peace.